A while back, I made a video going over 50 random Harry Potter lore facts. These were facts that were not at all covered in the 7 novels nor in the 3 Fantastic Beasts films. We're gonna do the same thing today and dive deep into Harry Potter extended lore, going over another 50 facts that the average Harry Potter fan might not know. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and sharing. It will greatly help to grow and sustain the channel. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow me on all of my other social medias, all of which are linked down below, and all of which have similar content that I make here on this channel. Now, let's get into it. 1. There was a disastrous dinner where Lily and James met Petunia and Vernon. James found Vernon amusing and messed with him, which made Vernon angry. Then, after James told Vernon about all the gold he had, Vernon thought he was being made fun of, and when he grew angry, he and Petunia stormed out. This led to Lily bursting into tears, and James feeling rather ashamed of himself. 2. In the days before the International Statute of Secrecy was put into place, a time when wizards freely mingled with muggles, wizards would use swords to defend themselves just as often as wands. This is because it was considered unsporting to use a wand against a muggle sword, which of course explains why Godric Gryffindor, a master duelist, wielded a sword of his own. 3. Before Salazar Slytherin died, he actually allowed a select few to visit the Chamber of Secrets in the depths of Hogwarts. This is why the secret chamber that no one should have known about but Slytherin became the talk of myth and rumors. Whoever he let down there spilled the secret. This turned out to be a good thing though, because it allowed Slytherin's descendants to know about it and open it. While the Chamber of Secrets was a carefully guarded secret, one thing that isn't a secret is how amazing the Opera browser is. It has loads of features that have made my own personal internet experience so much better. It has a music player that lets you control your songs by simply hovering over the player icon. You can easily stream from 6 platforms, plus you can also pop out and move the player wherever you want. No extra tabs, apps, or windows. One of the most useful tools for the work that I do here on this channel is the split screen feature. It allows you to have 2 documents up in the same browser window without needing to jump back and forth between the 2. It makes research and recording so much easier for me. Then let me introduce you to Aria, Opera's built-in AI. The image generation feature is perhaps the coolest one, as it can create an image from a single sentence. On top of that, you can upload an image and ask Aria to analyze it with the image recognition tool. You can also ask it any question while staying in the same web page, meaning there's no need to open extra tabs, which I've found to be very useful in avoiding distractions. All you need to do is press Command + on Mac or Control + on Windows. And there are loads of other features like tab traces, which helps you identify your most visited tabs with a subtle underscore. The darker the line, the more recently you visited that tab. This is helpful for someone like me who constantly has 30+ tabs open at a time. And another feature is tab islands, which group your tabs based on their context, theme, or topic, making research and even shopping so much easier. I can expand or collapse them whenever I need to. You can also tailor the look of the browser to your own personal preferences, being able to customize it with animated backgrounds, UI colors, and even browser sounds. You can play with endless combinations to find your perfect look. Opera has been a game changer for me, and it can be for you too if you click the link in the description or in the pinned comment. You won't regret it, because again, Opera changes the game. 4. Neville Longbottom had a wife named Hannah Abbott. Hannah became the landlady of the Leaky Cauldron, replacing Tom the barman. She and Neville lived together above the pub for a while, but eventually Hannah trained to become a healer, and she joined Neville as part of the Hogwarts staff, Neville teaching herbology, and Hannah becoming the new matron, replacing Madame Pomfrey. 5. The Weasley twins figured out how to get into the Marauders map with the help of the map, ironically. The map could tell that they truly were up to no good, and it gave them hints to get to the final phrase that of course brought the map to life: I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. 6. In the book, we learn that Neville Longbottom did not produce magic until he was 8 years old. However, it's later revealed that he showed signs of magic before that. In extended lore, we learn that an infant Neville used magic to make the blanket that was on top of him move slightly to make himself more snug. And he also showed other faint signs of magic over the years that, again, nobody noticed. It wasn't until he was 8 years old that he used enough magic to become eligible for Hogwarts. 7. If you were awarded Order of Merlin First Class, an award given for acts of outstanding bravery or distinction of magic, you get a golden medal with a green ribbon on it. This green ribbon signifies the house that Merlin himself was a part of while at Hogwarts, that of course being Slytherin. 8. When getting their wand, many witches and wizards would bring something that had sentimental value to them, asking for it to be the core of their wand. We actually saw an example of this in the book, as Fleur Delacour used the Vila hair of her grandmother as her core. What we did not know from the books though was that Garrick Ollivander was the first wand maker who refused to do this, saying that the wand cores he chose to match with the different wood types were the only way he would do it. That shows why he's the GOAT of wand making. 9. Throughout the books, we always see that the portraits of the headmasters and headmistresses are sleeping, and extended lore tells us why that is. It's because all of them are painted long before their living selves die, with the intention of them observing and learning from their living selves. And the majority of that time ends up being their original selves sleeping, which they do 8 hours a day, hence why the portraits copy this. 10. Before the Hogwarts Express, students used all different means of transportation to get to Hogwarts, including riding broomsticks, carriages, riding magical creatures, and some even tried apparition, which always ended badly considering that the school has enchantments to stop people from doing this. Later on, the ministry tried to employ the use of portkeys, but this proved difficult as a third of the students would miss it and not show up. So finally, they decided they needed a new plan, which brought forth the Hogwarts Express, which is lore that I covered in part 1 of this series. 11. The American Wizarding School Ilvermorny was co-founded by a muggle named James Stewart alongside a witch named Isolde Sayer, who eventually became his wife. This is the only wizarding school that can say their origins are linked to a muggle. 12. Neville Longbottom and his toad Trevor spent many years together at Hogwarts, which we saw in the original books. However, in extended lore, we find out that Trevor, who always seemed to wander the grounds when Neville lost him, eventually made his way to the Great Lake, where he spent the rest of his life. The writing that reveals this says that both Neville and Trevor felt a sense of relief when they parted ways. 13. The Malfoy family never had anyone run for Minister of Magic, but they funded many candidates to make them their puppets, forcing the ministers to do what they asked. Oftentimes, funding the candidates came along with hiring people to go after or hex the competition. It's often said that the Malfoy family will never be seen at the scene of the crime, but their fingerprints will be all over the guilty wand. 14. Many people have tried to recreate Floo powder on their own, but no one has been successful, because how to make it is a carefully guarded secret. When people use homemade Floo powder, it normally lands them in St. Mungo's Hospital, and this is so common that they have a name for such incidents, that being fox flu injuries. 15. For most of the 20th century, the Nimbus Racing Broom Company dominated sales compared to other brands with a margin of 3-1. However, when Randolph Spudmore came along, he revealed his secret project, which turned out to be the Firebolt. For the first time, Nimbus was no longer on top. The Firebolt was the first broom to ever use goblin-made ironwork, which gave the Firebolt additional stability and power in adverse weather conditions. There are far fewer of them than Nimbus brooms, and the price shows this more than anything. But soon after being made, the Firebolt was dubbed the greatest broom of all time. 16. The way the African school Wagadu informs their students that they are invited to the school is interesting to say the least. The headmaster or headmistress sends dream messengers while they are asleep, informing them that they are invited while in their dreams. They then wake up to a token that confirms their invitation. 17. Among the leaders of the Salem witch trials who hunted down witches and wizards in the 1600s, it is believed that Scowlers were among them. Scowlers were wizard mercenaries who took advantage of the lack of wizarding government in America. These Scowlers often handed over witches and wizards that they had caught, mainly for the gold, and they also passed off no-mages or muggles as witches and wizards, despite the fact that they had no magic in them. They clearly didn't mind causing suffering and pain for a little bit of gold. 18. During the 2014 Quidditch World Cup, Victor Crumb came out of retirement after failing to win the cup during his long career. The now 38-year-old, who many said was too old to play, announced that he was coming back to win the World Cup before he died. Everyone counted him and Bulgaria out, saying that Krum was too old, but he proved everyone wrong when he caught the snitch to win it all, allowing him to retire a champion. 19. When the Hufflepuff ghost known as the Fat Friar was still alive, he spent his time using magic to cure muggles of the pox. However, churchmen grew suspicious of his ability to heal using a wooden stick, so they decided to hunt him down and execute him because they thought he was too powerful. Immediately following his death, the friar made his way to Hogwarts in his ghost form, where he would eventually become the ghost of Hufflepuff. 20. Ilvermorny robes are blue and cranberry, both of which honor its founders Isolde Sayer and James Stewart, who we of course talked about earlier. Blue was chosen by Isolde because had she gone to Hogwarts, she would have wanted to be in Ravenclaw House. And cranberry was chosen by James to honor his love of cranberry pie, which is... I don't know. The robes are also fastened by a gold Gordian knot, which is in memory of a brooch Isolde found in the ruins of the original Ilvermorny cottage. 21. The robes for the Japanese Wizarding School have many powers. First, they grow with the student as they get older, meaning they only need to get one set of robes for all of their schooling. Not really sure how laundry works wearing the same robes every day, but... They also change colors, starting off as pink, and if top grades are achieved, they turned gold. If they turn white though, this is a terrible disgrace, because it means that the student has adopted illegal practices such as dark magic, or has broken the international statute of secrecy. 22. In Wizarding World lore, the legend of skinwalkers, or people who have the ability to turn into an animal in Native American culture, are actually animagi or wizards or witches who can turn from human to animal. Also, I'll add that this piece of lore has been called out for disrespecting Native American cultures. Yikes. 23. If you go back to the earliest days of the Potter family, a man named Linfred, also known as the Potterer, made a number of remedies that evolved into potions that are still used to this day. This includes Skelly Grow as well as Pepper Up Potion. His sales of these cures made him quite wealthy, and he left each of his 7 children quite a lot of gold, setting the Potter family up for success from the start. And over time, the Potter family's wealth grew even more, which made Harry a very rich man later in life. 24. We of course know that Dumbledore hired Lockhart for the Defense Against the Dark Arts post, but we learn more about this dynamic in deeper Harry Potter lore. We find out that Dumbledore actually knew 2 of the wizards who were victims of Lockhart's memory charms. Dumbledore knew that he had bewitched them and taken credit for their brave deeds. So Dumbledore actually knew that Lockhart was a fraud more than anybody else. 25. A wizard named Mordecus Egg wrote a book called The Philosopher of the Mundane, Why the Muggles Prefer Not to Know. In the book, he argues that Muggles don't see the Wizarding World because they are much more likely to believe that they have misheard something, are too oblivious, or were just hallucinating, even when the evidence is right in front of them. Interesting. So all of us might just be missing the Wizarding World in real life. 26. Rowling revealed after the series ended that Quirrell putting Voldemort on the back of his head actually led to Quirrell being a temporary Horcrux, meaning that Voldemort actually had 8 Horcruxes, not 7. 27. The Pensieve at Hogwarts actually predates the creators of the school, meaning it was created before 990 AD. It went on to hold the memories of almost every headmaster and headmistress in Hogwarts history. There is also a legend that says that the 4 founders of Hogwarts discovered the Pensieve half buried in the ground on the very spot where they decided to build the school. 28. Lucius Malfoy I tried desperately to pursue the hand of Queen Elizabeth I, but she rejected him. Wizarding historians believe that the reason why Queen Elizabeth never married was due to a jinx that Lucius Malfoy I put on the queen because of her rejection. How petty. 29. The length of a wand is not necessarily based on how tall or short a witch or wizard is, but rather on how big their personality is. Most wands range from about 9 to 14 inches, but there are some rare exceptions where the wand could be as short as 8 inches or as long as 15 inches. Rowling knew what she was doing there. She was literally referencing big dick energy. 30. Owls in Harry Potter can find pretty much anyone wherever they are. If you're on the run like Sirius Black was, the only thing you can do to stop an owl from finding you is using a repelling, disguising, and masking spell. This piece of magic is also used for more minor things, like stopping an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend from contacting you, meaning you can block yourself from that person's owl. Again, I guess that's the Wizarding World's equivalent of us blocking people on our phones. Also, I don't know who needs to hear this, but ladies and gentlemen, go block that toxic ex. 31. Professor Kettleburn, the care of magical creatures professor before Hagrid, caused many disasters with the beast he looked after, including catching the Great Hall on fire with an Ashwinder. He messed up so many times that he was put on probation no less than 62 times. Before retiring, Kettleburn had lost an entire arm and half a leg, showing how dangerous some of those beasts could be when you underestimate them. And you know, when you don't have the size, strength, and skin of a literal giant. That helps too. 32. The Sword of Gryffindor was made by the King of the Goblins, Ragnuk. After meeting all of Gryffindor's specifications though, Ragnuk loved his creation so much that he wanted to keep it for himself. So he came up with a plan, which involved telling all of the goblins he ruled over that the sword had been stolen from him by Godric. He then sent his minions to retrieve it, but as you can imagine, this did not go well. Gryffindor enchanted these minions and sent them back to their king with a message. He said that if Ragnuk ever tried to get the sword again, he would use it to slaughter them all. This incident ended up starting a rumor that Gryffindor really had stolen the sword though, which forever made goblins resentful of humans, and arguably was the cause of the many revolutions and battles between goblins and humans. Oof. 33. There are 38 different wand woods that can be used to create a magical wand, and the only wand maker that is aware of them all is Garrick Ollivander. He has extensive notes on each in his journal. Again, he's the GOAT. 34. In 1637, a werewolf code of conduct was developed. It was basically a contract that every werewolf was demanded to sign, promising that they would securely lock themselves up every month during their transformations. Not a single werewolf signed this though. They knew that by showing up to the ministry to sign, it would automatically put them on the ministry's radar, which was the last thing that they wanted with all of the discrimination against their kind. 35. Azkaban was not originally a prison, but rather the home of a dark wizard named Exrisdis. Nobody knew of him nor of the island because he used complicated magic to conceal it. When he died though, those concealment charms vanished, and the Ministry of Magic found the place. They were shocked to find that it was infested with the creatures they dubbed to be Dementors. Many believed that Exrisdis himself created these horrific beasts with dark magic. The ministry left all of this alone for many years, fearful that if they took it down, the Dementors' habitat would be destroyed, and thus they would spread throughout the world, which as we know would be terrible. 36. The Leaky Cauldron was created in the early 1500s, accompanied by the creation of Diagon Alley. Before the International Statute of Secrecy was put into place, the pub was actually visible to Muggles and even welcomed Muggles in for a drink. However, between the odd topics of conversation and odd creatures and pets that people had, the Muggles often left abruptly and slightly scared. 37. In 2003, there was a portkey mishap where two Muggles found themselves transported to the witch singer Celestina Warbeck's concert when they accidentally touched a portkey meant for wizards. One of the Muggles was invited on stage by Celestina singing the song A Cauldron Full of Hot Strong Love. Though a memory charm was put on the Muggle, he later wrote a popular Muggle song that bears an uncanny resemblance to Celestina's worldwide hit, which greatly annoyed Celestina. 38. Petunia along with Vernon decided not to attend Lily and James's wedding, even after James and Lily went to theirs. This only added to the fact that Petunia had not made Lily a bridesmaid at her wedding, both of which deeply hurt Lily. 39. Rowling revealed after the series ended that Draco knew Vincent Crabbe before going to Hogwarts, as their fathers were friends, meaning that they grew up together. However, it wasn't until the train ride to Hogwarts that he met Gregory Goyle, who he recruited right then and there to be a second henchman alongside Crabbe. I feel like most of us thought that all three of them grew up together, but this piece of lore says otherwise. 40. Durmstrang Institute had an interesting beginning, as Nerdia Volchanova, the founder of the school, mysteriously died, making way for Harfang Munter, a darker wizard, to take over. He was the reason why Durmstrang took a more pureblood approach and why the school got its reputation for the dark arts. 41. In the 1877 Quidditch World Cup, a competition was planned, the venue was chosen, publicity materials were produced, and tickets were sold. However, in August, the Wizarding World woke up and both players and spectators had no memory of the tournament taking place. Players had been injured, most likely during the forgotten match, and the Argentinian team was found tied up in the basement of a pub. Nobody knows what happened though. There were a few theories, including goblin interference, who at the time were on the cusp of war against humans. Another theory was the spreading of a wizarding disease that caused confusion and memory loss. In the end, though the tournament was only played every 4 years, they held another tournament just 1 year later in 1878. 42. There was a minister of magic named Perseus Parkinson who attempted to pass a bill making it illegal to marry a muggle. He severely misread what the public wanted though, who were tired of anti-muggle sentiment and wanted peace, so they voted him out of office at their first opportunity. Also, Perseus Parkinson is related to Pansy Parkinson from the original series. 43. Minerva McGonagall and Pomona Sprout, the heads of both Gryffindor House and Hufflepuff House, attended Hogwarts at the same time, being just 2 years apart. During their time at Hogwarts, they grew close, and the relationship only got stronger when they worked together years later. 44. Florian Fortescue, the owner of the ice cream shop in Diagon Alley and the man who gave Harry free ice cream, was actually related to a former headmaster of Hogwarts named Dexter Fortescue. 45. Though the Department of Mysteries is a division in the Ministry of Magic, the department actually has seniority over the ministry itself. It was made long before the ministry came to fruition. British wizards stumbled upon this mysterious chamber, and they were so intrigued by it that they wanted to claim it for themselves. To do so, they decided to build their place of government around it, allowing them to explore it even deeper. 46. The first president of MACUSA was a man named Josiah Jackson, and he was elected because he was a warlike wizard who people believed was tough enough to deal with the difficulties of the post-Salem witch trials era. This goes along with what we talked about earlier with the Scourers, who took advantage of the lack of American government in the wizarding world. Josiah Jackson was able to put a stop to all of that and take control. 47. One of the most disastrous Quidditch World Cups was one that Nico Nanad was a part of. He was playing for New Spain, now known as Mexico, and he was a Dark Wizard first and a Quidditch player second. Before the match, he got his fellow Dark Wizards to go into the forest surrounding the stadium and bring the trees to life. Then, during the match, when things weren't going his way, Nico put his plan into action. He slammed a bludger at the trees, which nobody but him knew were alive, and chaos erupted. The angry trees flattened everything in their path, causing many injuries and even deaths. Ultimately, karma prevailed, as Nico was one of the first people to lose their life. But this quickly turned into a deadly battle of wizards versus giant trees, and the battle lasted for 7 hours until the wizards finally came out on top. 48. Following the Battle of Hogwarts, new Minister of Magic Kingsley Shacklebolt decided to rid Azkaban of its guards Dementors, instead replacing them with Aurors. Following this decision, there was not a single breakout. In fact, this made the prison far more secure because they no longer had to worry about the Dementors changing sides to join some dark wizard the way they did with Voldemort. 49. The Excalibur sword, or the sword that King Arthur pulled out of the stone, was an event that did take place in the Wizarding World. And adding to that, King Arthur was also an important part of Wizarding World history. 50. Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge awarded himself the honor of Order of Merlin First Class for a career that many considered less than distinguished. This rubbed many people the wrong way, and rightly so, because he was a garbage minister and a terrible person. And that's another 50 Harry Potter lore facts. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and sharing. And again, if you want, hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow me on all of my other social medias. That's all for today though, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.